I did my presentation on the effects of cold and vacuum environments on the durability of urethane and eraser rubbers. So I tested, I was trying to see which materials would be good for an astronaut in outer space to be used on a spaceship or on a spacesuit. So since rubber is often used for that kind of, is often used in outer space, I thought I would test on a specific kind of rubber that was known to be durable, which was urethane rubber and abrasive resistant. So I also tested white erasers because just to be able to compare between the two different rubbers and see which one was, see if the urethane rubber really was doing a better job for a spacesuit or for a space material than the eraser rubbers. The eraser rubbers are made of vinyl, and those are also known to be pretty strong and abrasive resistant. So it was interesting to see how the two would compare. For materials, I tested them in dry ice and vacuum environments because those are two common extreme environments that could be encountered when in outer space, and that those are also environments that a person such as an astronaut would need it to be protected against because they cannot withstand that kind of environment on their own. For the materials and methods, first I made the urethane rubber from a kit, and I used a knife to kind of shape it so it was the same size as, approximately the same size dimensions as the white eraser rubbers, and which were just rectangles. And each was, okay, so there were five urethane molds made and 3 erasers were used, and they were each measured to see their normal dimensions, and then they were measured to see how far they could stretch, because that's what we were testing, was to see if they were still able to have the same stretchability after being tested in the environments. So we tested them in dry ice for approximately 4 hours, and then we measured and calculated the amount that they stretched and the amount that the length of the dimensions, and to compare after the dry ice. We also did that after we put them in a vacuum chamber, and that was for approximately 24 hours, which was repumped in the morning just to ensure that there was no air getting in. The results were that the eraser rubbers and the urethane rubber stayed approximately the same. They were able to stretch the same amount after and before all the tests, except for during dry ice. The white eraser rubbers were not able to stretch at all from their normal position, probably because they were frozen and did not have the same abilities. And this table shows the original lengths and then the stretch lengths before any testing was done. And we also calculated the strain, which was the percentage of stretching that it was able to do. And then this table was the original lengths, the stretched lengths and the strains of the urethane and eraser rubbers after being tested in dry ice. And this table was the original lengths, all the different lengths stretched, and that were calculated after being in the vacuum for 24 hours. And then this was the percentage of strain on the immediately after dry ice for all of the numbers, and this was the percentage of strain immediately after vacuum for all the numbers, or for all the different samples. And then I decided to average each strain so that it would be easier to put into a graph. And this graph was the effects of extreme environments on the amount of stretchability of both the urethane and eraser rubbers. So this was after being, this one was after being, or this was before any testing was done. This was the average strain after being in dry ice, and this was the strain after being in the vacuum chamber. This was the urethane rubber, and this was the white erasers. The hypothesis was that both of the rubbers would be able to withstand and have the same stretchability before and after all the tests. This was not only partially the case because the urethane rubber, which was the main thing we were testing, or I was testing, was able to stretch the same and approximately the same before and after all the different tests. And the white erasers were not able to stretch as much, only after being in the dry ice. So it was only partially supported, and some of these reasons could have been because I was the one who was stretching them, so there was room for error, especially since I was wearing gloves while I was stretching the dry ice one, to see, because the gloves were needed when handling dry ice material, and it could have also been because on the vacuum pump, because we couldn't ensure that none of the air could have gotten back into the vacuum and affected the results. Thank you.